memory of Halloween? Gosh, that's a tough one. There are so many wonderful memories. Some of my favorites, though, probably come as a small child. I used to gather together with my mom and my aunts and my cousins, and we were always in full costume, even the adults. And we went out trick-or-treating as a caravan, mainly to families' homes and close friends and neighbors. But it was so great to go out together and to see the adults have such a good time too. And we always ended the night at my grandmother's house, and she loved holidays. And Halloween, she always had her home completely decked out, and she was always in full costume. And that alone was such a treat. But she always had a special bag put back for me that was loaded with at least double the candy, and she always slipped in a $20 bill. Not sure if my other cousins know about that, so I might be letting the cat out of the bag a few years later here. But she always wanted me to take that $20 and buy myself a new toy for Halloween, just an extra little treat.
One of my favorite Halloween memories would have to be more recent. It's not a childhood memory for me, but definitely my son 2 years ago. He was 1 year old, and we dressed him up as a monkey, and he just crawled around on the ground with the dogs.
My favorite memories as a child on Halloween is just meeting up with my cousins and going trick-or-treating, and especially going to Mrs. Price's home. She would always give us the full-size candy bars, and if she really liked you, she'd put extra in your bag, which I always seemed to get. Yummy for me. And then just carving out my pumpkin with my mom, that was always really special.
Gosh, funniest, that's a lot harder. Let's see, one of my funniest memories, I guess I was early 20s and went to a corn maze with some of my friends. And of course we went at night, so I had my flashlight. And Keith, my husband, he didn't need a flashlight. But about halfway through it, he needed my flashlight for a moment. And we got separated, so I had no light. I don't see well in the dark. There's a kid running around playing the Friday the 13th, I think, music. And he's jumping out of the corn at people. And anybody that knows me knows I'm a complete fraidy cat. I do not do scary. I do not like creepy. So I've already got my mind on that. I'm also very, very clumsy. So I'm walking along, no sense of direction, no idea where I am, trying to figure out how to get the heck out of this corn maze. And I trip over my own feet. I'm also a little loud. I guess I squeal when I go down, and then everybody hears the thud. And then I get very tickled very easily. And when I get tickled, I have this loud laugh that I can't control. And I guess I started hysterically laughing, and everybody in the whole corn maze could hear me. Everyone I was with knew that it was me that had fallen. Everybody came rushing to me. The poor kid that was running around jumping out at people got in trouble with his parents, with the owners of the corn maze, and I kept trying to convince him that he didn't scare me. He was nowhere near me. I just tripped over my own feet, but nobody would believe me that I would just fall down. But I have to say, after that, I always make sure I do not give up my flashlight.
One of my funniest Halloween memories is probably when we were stationed in Alaska for a while. My dad was in the Army, and it was so cold that all you could wear was a snowsuit and either one of those masks that you wore in the 80s, which was completely cardboard, or some sort of animal ears, or you could wear like fairy wings. My friend had fairy wings that she tried to squeeze over her snowsuit, and our costumes just kept falling apart because they were made to fit a child and not a child that was inflated with a big giant snowsuit. So we were quite the spectacle, and if I remember correctly, we did get some candy though, so it all turned out okay.
And the funniest thing is just acting up with my cousins and being silly. and just running from house to house and just really just having a good time with my cousins.
Oh, my scariest Halloween memory. This one is so easy. It goes back to that same trick-or-treating story. But one of my grandmother's close friends and neighbors, Bonnie Hart, and I know she won't mind me saying her name because she takes such pride in what she does. Her home was always decorated so beautifully, and she was always in full costume as a witch. And like I said, absolutely gorgeous. She looked like a doll or a figurine, and she blended right in with her decorations. But when you got up close to her, she would leap out at you or she would grab you. And it was absolutely terrifying to me every year. Even though I expected it, she still got me every year. And I always kind of was scared to get to her house, but at the same time, I absolutely could not wait. But she was such a blessing to that community, and from what I understand, she still is. She was out last year, and she's just absolutely fabulous. And like I said, I just really appreciate that she did that for all of our community kids when I was growing up.
My scariest Halloween memory is probably more scary from a parent's perspective, but I dressed as a black cat when I think I was 11 years old, and I thought it would be a good idea to bring my actual black cat with me when I went trick-or-treating, just as a prop. And what I didn't realize is that my cat had eaten something that apparently upset his stomach before we went, and I was getting out of the car and my cat had pooped all down my sleeve, and it was in between the car seat and the door, and we just had to go home and clean everything because it was such a mess. So that was kind of a different version of scary, but that's my scary memory.
For the scariest, nothing really that I recall happening during trick-or-treating, but I do remember going to a haunted house one time, and that scared me pretty bad that I never did go to another.
I love to dress up for Halloween, and I've always liked being something really creepy and traditional like a witch. But my absolute favorite actually came a couple of years ago here at the office. One of our agents at the time, she came up with the idea of doing famous women through history, someone that we really looked up to. And everybody kind of did their own thing. And I decided to dress up as Lucy from I Love Lucy. And it was the most fun costume. I just had a complete blast with it, and it was interesting and different. So that's been one of my absolute favorites.
Favorite costume? That's a tough one because I really like dressing up. But it's probably a few years ago when my husband and I just dressed up to hand out candy to the children. This was before we had our son. And I just put together a bunch of brightly colored things. I think I had on a pink dress and yellow shoes and a green wig, and all the kids thought I was either Lady Gaga, or a few kids thought I was Katy Perry. So it was just a really fun costume, and nobody really knew who I was. It was kind of left to the imagination. So I really liked that costume.
Then my favorite costume, it was rather for us to go out and buy one. We would just always make our own. And I like dressing up like a witch. I always loved to paint my face and black out my front teeth. It looked pretty scary back then.